What is the perfect Wonder Woman story?
How would you craft that?
What elements, what themes, what kind of symbolism would go into making that?
Wonder Woman Battle of the Gods is my answer to that. It's what would happen if DC wasn't afraid to push the limits on what audiences were able to digest, to hopefully deliver a truly punishing origin for Diana Prince, Princess of Themyscira. It is a dark, brutal, yet emotional story involving Diana, made with one question in mind. What left is there to do after you've given everything that you had, and it still wasn't enough? It follows Diana from a completely different perspective, not from one where she's initially presented as this warrior exhibiting incredible abilities gifted to her by the gods, but rather as someone who's actually the weakest among her people. Her entire life she's been made to feel less than. Like no matter how hard she tried, she performed at an even lesser level than all the other Amazons. She just wasn't strong enough. And after hearing that, I know what you're immediately thinking. How could you take Wonder Woman and remove the one thing that makes her Wonder Woman? And if that is the question you're asking, then my answer would be simple. One of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Wonder Woman is that she's only cool because of her power set. It's a narrative that I've been fortunate to witness with another particularly inspiring character. It's like an obscure one, you probably wouldn't know him. We've gotten a number of movies in the past that have relied solely on showcasing Superman's incredible superhuman abilities, highlighting them above all else, as if that's what made Superman compelling. It isn't. What makes Superman compelling is not the idea that he's this foreign alien exhibiting amazing feats of strength, speed, and flight. It's not that he's essentially this god among men. His story isn't about his struggle with his morality. It's about his relationship with humanity. It's a story questioning how someone exhibiting so much power that would easily allow them to tower over all of humanity would never even let the thought cross his mind. And the reason for that isn't for some crazy symbolic message. It's not because his father's dying wish was to ensure that he always used his powers responsibly, to protect mankind no matter the cost. No, it's simply because he's a good man. That's it. like that's it. And there are fragments of that same sentiment in Wonder Woman. Yes, she's this incredibly fierce warrior. Yes, she's this powerful Spartan that goes up against demons and life-threatening otherworldly creatures, but that's not what makes her iconic. And that's not why people believe Wonder Woman. That's not why they love Wonder Woman. That's not why they believe in her struggle. They believe her story because her story, at its core, is about compassion. It's about seeing injustice and wanting to stand up against it. It's about the trials and tribulations that come with that. And that, at its core, is what this story would be about. You'll get your high-stakes action epic, but it'll be balanced by an underlying message about love and finding one's strength, and what it means to prove that to yourself and to the world. Warrior women to demonstrate their strength. The gods are growing weaker each century because of the way. Spartans. Now, by now, you're probably wondering, what is the story of this movie? The story is essentially about Diana and her struggle to find her power. It starts off with Ares opposing the gods and their idea to make a race of strong, brave, compassionate warrior women to inspire the people of man to worship the gods. This worship would imbue the gods with an everlasting supply of strength. They follow through with it anyway, and the Amazonian people create life on Themyscira. All is prospering, until Ares retaliates by traveling to Earth and raining hell on this newly created land. The gods then show up to stop him. Now, why is this important? Because when Diana is brought to life, she shows these incredible feats of strength and agility. The Amazons fear over Diana, growing up to reign a similar path of destruction and terror, caused them to put a dampening spell on Diana's strength. Because of this decision, every other Amazon prospers over her. We open being introduced to a Diana competing in a training competition where she's fully in her element, until it's revealed that everyone is significantly stronger and faster than her. Her whole life she goes through this period where she loses constantly. She trains harder than anyone, but is always reminded that she's less than, that she isn't strong enough. A plane crash lands on the island, and we're introduced to a very broken and war-weary Steve Trevor. He tells him that his plane was blown in the direction of the island from a massive storm that swept up and killed half his entire fleet. Fires are starting everywhere. Multiple cities are being flooded. Tornadoes are ripping apart half the country. Diana hears this and pleads with her mother and the other Amazons to do something about all these people that are suffering. They reject the idea, stating that Themyscira has survived for this long by remaining uninvolved in human conflict. Life is good on the island. The people there are prospering. Meanwhile, the people of man are suffering, running for their lives in fear. This creates a revelation in Diana. Heartbroken by her people's inability to show compassion and help the people of man, she leaves the island with the help of one Steve Trevor, who safely guides her back to America, to where she finds his world to be that of a barren wasteland. Civilians are running away in fear. Fires are spreading everywhere you can see. The very trees are being ripped from the ground and swung around, crashing into nearby buildings, causing massive explosions. There's a few scenes in there that show her doing her best to save people. But Steve states that he doesn't know if there's any stopping this, that it's worse than it was before he left. Diana informs him that there is a way to stop it, and that the only way is to travel to Olympus, through the underworld, to take this dispute up to the gods themselves. But before doing that, they discover that many civilians have been left essentially homeless and broken after witnessing the destruction of their homes and the world around them. Diana instantly recognizes that her mission from here on out is to secure the safety of these civilians on their way to find the passage to Olympus. Throughout the story, we'd see Diana's will constantly tested, and their strength constantly being forced out of her, and her desperate attempt to keep the people she loves safe. But the hardest part about this is that even when she tries to protect the people she loves, she loses them anyway. Multiple civilians die throughout the course of this movie, and Diana is greatly affected by this, as each death takes an even deeper toll on her. Her conflict here is that even when she shows incredible feats of strength, speed, even when she saves multiple people, many others die in the process. And we see that full scale. I think we've seen enough adaptations where the protagonist is relatively breezing past their conflict. I want her conflict in this story to be punishing. I want us to feel every event that happens, every decision that she makes, whether it's for the betterment of herself or for her people. I want the weight of all of her actions to be felt by the audience, and for the audience to fully understand whatever decisions she makes going forward. I think a really great way to answer that question shown in the beginning is to show Diana, knowing that she's fully in over her head, knowing that she isn't strong enough to be successful in her mission, but continuing to do so anyway. For all the people she's lost as a result of her lack of power. Knowing that if she doesn't, then more people are going to suffer because of it. It's a very heartbreaking theme of her essentially taking all of these arrows and suffering all of this pain so countless others won't have to. She starts off as this determined yet compassionate person who loves all and appreciates the beauty of life, that tries to reason against her opponents instead of immediately going for the head, and ends up being this incredibly jaded character by the end of it, that's endured so much pain that she now strikes first and asks questions later. This comes up in the third act, where she's lost everything, where she now has more blood on her hands from letting innocent people die than getting hurt while being successful in saving them. In an epic battle, she eventually takes victory over Ares, but by the end of it, we see that she doesn't get a happy ending. She doesn't get to kiss the guy. It's actually a very dark and depressing ending to her journey, but we as the audience have seen exactly what struggles and what sacrifices she had to make to become this incredible warrior and hero that we see today. If you stayed this far, I want to personally thank you. The process behind making this is probably the most painful thing that I've ever had to go through. I should probably give a shout out to the rest of the people in this project, DC Prime. If you don't know, this is part of a cinematic universe that me and a group of creators have put together, essentially envisioning what our ideal DC universe would look like. The next project within this universe is titled The Flash, Year 1. It's being made by a good friend of mine, Fake Happy Films. You should look out for that. It's coming in the next few weeks or so. I've read parts of the script, and so far as a Flash fan, I can say it's absolutely amazing. For now, be safe. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I'll catch you guys next time.